Thank you, Chairman Corker. I want to start by thanking General Dempsey and Secretary Carter and Secretary Kerry for your service, for your testimony and your engagement with us today. We recently heard of tragic news of 11 service members, 4 soldiers, 7 Marines currently missing and I believe presumed lost in a training accident at Elgin Air Force Base. And I just think it is worth a moment of prayerful reflection on the enormous sacrifice that they have made and that their families, the loss that they're facing. Dover Air Force Base will be the place to which those families now go and their remains return. And I think all of us who are contemplating the undertaking we're about to authorize, that I pray we're about to authorize, is one that will involve a great deal of sacrifice across many countries and many years. A question I wanted to raise is about who bears the cost. In addition to the men and women of the armed forces and their families, I think we need to be putting on the table in our conversation about authorizing the conflict against ISIS the financial cost. General Dempsey was right to raise the concerns about DoD's budget for maintenance of effort across many different fields. The need to pay for this war is, for me, a central concern. Going back to 1961, President Eisenhower said America could choke itself to death piling up military expenditures just as surely as it can defeat itself by not paying enough for protection. We have used a combination of either spending cuts or increased revenue to pay for every conflict before the 2003 Iraq War, and the 2 post-9/11 engagements added literally trillions of dollars to our nation's debt. So I think we cannot write another blank check for a war. We have to pay for it. I think it's also not just fiscally responsible, but morally responsible. It engages every American in bearing the cost of the conflict. And I'm aware this is not directly within the purview of this committee, but I think it's the responsibility of all of Congress. So I am intending to renew this conversation. In the last Congress, I introduced an amendment to the AUMF that was debated and considered, and I will do so in this debate and consideration and also in the upcoming budget process. I wondered if any of you cared to comment on behalf of the administration on an amendment that would call for a temporary war surtax that raises revenues, or one that is a mix of raising revenues and cutting spending to offset the cost of the conflict against ISIL. Secretary Carter, I'll start with you, if I might.
You're raising a very important question. My own view is that that question is not best associated with the authorization for the use of military force, although it's a very important question. The AUMF principally covers the kind of campaign required and the support and authority of the President to engage in that. With respect to the expenditures, we are in a situation, and Chairman Dempsey referred to this, and I believe the State Department is also, in terms of its own budget, of one in which we've had year after year of turmoil, which is disruptive, which is wasteful, which it causes all of us, and I think this is probably true in the State Department budget and any of my other colleagues, to have a very difficult time managing appropriately and efficiently. So that's a very important problem, and I appreciate your attention to it and agree with what you said. Again, and this is now, I'm offering a view off the top of the head here, but I think that is best dealt with and needs to be dealt with, but would be best dealt with in another way than by incorporating the funding situation in the AUMF. And I'll say one more thing. Well, I think that's.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The point I'm simply trying to raise is that at the same time that the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs raises appropriately, enduring budget concerns, as a former member of the Budget Committee myself, I feel uncomfortable that we continue to use OCO contingency funding for more and more reach and more functions, and I'd like to see us take on, perhaps in other committees, but the responsibility of clearly shouldering the responsibility of paying for this and not just asking for sacrifice from those who wear the uniform.